Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about the terrible unrest and awful demonstrations gone wrong happening currently in Kenosha, Wisconsin. For those who don't know, there was another arrest that went wrong there last week, and this resulted in people rioting and tearing down things in the streets. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's really bad, and it's really getting out of hand. And as we stated before, it's all based on some false assumptions about the initial arrest gone wrong. They try to claim there was some kind of racism there or corruption at play with the police department, but really, truthfully, it's just a story about someone resisting arrest, running away from the cops, fighting them, and eventually getting themselves hurt in the process, which really is to be expected for most people who understand how the world and law and order and law enforcement work. But that hasn't stopped the race baiters from coming out around this story and starting their own little issues in the public. Not only have they race baited this so hard that there's riots in the streets and the whole town is getting burnt down, but also they've started to make threats about law enforcement and saying they're going to go after innocent cops that have nothing to do with this arrest, really. I believe there were 2 or 3 cops involved in the actual incident, and most people who have seen the footage don't think they actually did much wrong. It's possible there could be more evidence coming out later, or there could be some arguments made that it was a bit excessive, maybe, but in reality, they were defending themselves and protecting the neighborhood and trying to save the world from this bad situation. But despite that, today we're going to talk about one very terrible BLM's type activist named Shaun King. Shaun King is, of course, a fake black person. He pretends to be black to race bait on Twitter and to raise money, and he has lots of donations that he collects. He's doing this as a big grift, and part of his new grifting campaign is going after this situation. In fact, he's even threatened to name innocent cops as the people who perpetuated this incident. As you can see by this article, it says BLM activist Shaun King threatens to name innocent cops in the Jacob Blake situation. That's right. So he's so frustrated by it, he's going to just name random cops and try to get them in trouble. It's pretty messed up. It shows how corrupt and terrible this whole situation has become, and also how bad this guy is. Here's a picture of Shaun King. He says he's a black person, and I just don't see it. I don't think anyone is really convinced by his act. We've seen pictures of his parents who are both white. We've seen pictures of him and all kinds of stuff. I mean, this guy is a terrible fraudster. He collects lots of donations that really don't go anywhere except for into his pocket. So this is just another part of that grift. He's going after the cops. He's feeding into this anti-cop sentiment that's out there. There's a lot of people that want to hate on cops right now, and it's mostly because of the media and people like Shaun King. So let's go ahead and read into the story and see how bad this thing gets. Accused fraudster Shaun King is threatening to name innocent cops as Jacob Blake shooter if the Kenosha Police Department doesn't release the identity of the officer who did. If you do not name the officer who brutally shot Jacob Blake on Sunday, we will simply begin naming officers from your department who may or may not be him, the anti-police Black Lives Matter activist threatened online. Your protection of his identity is unethical. What's his name? King wrote in a message to the Kenosha Police Department that he pinned to the top of his Twitter thread. So this is very interesting for a lot of reasons. I mean, why does he want to know the name so much? Why is this a national story? You know, it's like I said in previous videos referencing this, a certain arrest in a city in America should not make national news. This is like international news at this point, really. I mean, everyone in the world is talking about this, and they really shouldn't. I mean, I know it sucks and sometimes arrests go wrong and we don't want anyone to die, but this was a pretty justified case. I mean, this guy resisted, he wrestled with the cops, he was tasered with a non-lethal weapon, and he still got up and walked into his car. His car is basically a getaway vehicle slash 4,000-pound weapon. And in addition, new evidence has shown that there was, in fact, another weapon in his car under the mat under his feet where his driver's seat was. So he was certainly doing something bad going back to that car. But despite all that, because he was black, people like Shaun King will defend them. Liberals will do everything they can, any kind of mental gymnastics to try and justify this. And this is the very, very extreme version of that. Now he wants to name random cops because he doesn't get the name of the cop that did it. I believe since this story came out, this article is from yesterday, I believe the name has come out since then, so that's kind of been resolved. But the point is, and this story is still very scary, it shows how crazy and very, very biased people like Shaun King can be. I mean, why does he want to know that cop's name anyway? I mean, it seems like he plans to do some very bad things with it. He plans to, expose him, send people to his house, who knows, like harass his family, like who knows, like he really obviously has some vengeance and evil thoughts in his heart, because not only is he going after the guy who defended himself and saved lots of people from this violent criminal, but he wants to go after other cops in the same department who had nothing to do with it. I mean, these are all innocent people with families. They're trying to protect their neighborhood. Cops are not the bad guys here. Like, that's the main thing that everyone should be taking away from this. Cops are actually the heroes. In some ways, they're actually janitors too. So they're cleaning up messes. They came to this incident in Kenosha to clean up a mess. And a lot of people want to just blame them and say, oh, the cops could have done this better. They did this wrong. They should have done this better. But that's not the way to look at it at all. You should be looking at the criminal's perspective and say, hey, he shouldn't have committed a crime. He shouldn't have been resisting arrest and fighting with cops. And then at the end, he shouldn't have walked away from the cops and tried to get into his vehicle and possibly run away, drive into someone, grab another weapon. Like, who knows? That's the angle you should be looking at, not whether or not the cops did something right. I mean, blaming the cops is like blaming the plumber when your toilet breaks. Like, you don't call the plumber up, he shows up, and you're like, hey, my toilet's broken. What'd you do? No, that doesn't make sense. You call the plumber and he's trying to fix a problem, and so are the cops. The Brooklyn-based King later named an officer whose name has circulated with no proof, saying he was in protective custody in a hotel because people thought he shot Jacob. He then named a second officer again with no proof. It was the officer who shot Blake in the back as he got into the car after brawling with officers. Police could end this right now. They are deliberately protecting the man who shot Jacob. What's his name? He wrote. So this guy also has a big issue. Like, he thinks he's some kind of hero. He thinks he's like some kind of like savior. Oh, I'm saving the world. These guys have these hero complexes where they want to act like they're in the past, really. I mean, there's not really a lot of real racism and stuff to fight for now. Everyone has equal rights. The real problems of today are very, very different. But people like Shaun King, they want to pretend they're in the past because they like the eras of like civil rights movement or defeating slavery 150 years ago, like things like that really get their fancies tickled. And that's what I see with Shaun, especially you see this picture, the way he's speaking. He's at a Bernie Sanders rally, obviously, that says that on the podium. This is a very bad far left guy who's in it for the money too. And he's also endangering like really, really lots of people, innocent people. Cops are not the enemy. Like, the real problem here is not the police, it's the criminals. The real problem is the bad actions that these people are taking. And it really has nothing to do with race either. As we said before, like, there's not really a racist element here. There's no proven racism. The only factor is that the people involved happen to be certain races. But I mean, everyone's a certain race. Like, with this logic, with this argument, basically anything can be racist according to Democrats, because they don't need to find proof of racism. They don't need to have any facts or evidence to back it up. They just see something and say it's racist, and that's true. And really, if you think about it that way, we could say anything's racist. I mean, we could say, for example, one of my videos gets taken down. I could say, hey, that was because of racism. Or if one of you guys gets fired from your job, you could say it's because of racism. I mean, you could just say it for anything at this point. King, who found notoriety for numerous outlandish claims in support of the BLM movement, has repeatedly praised rioters as well as calling to fully defund the police. I'm not going to call for peace. We've tried peace, he wrote Monday, calling for a complete dismantling of American policing while conceding that mayhem is the consequence. While a handful of followers support his call to name innocent officers, King was inundated with people attacking him, with some formally complaining on Twitter, as they should. I mean, no one innocent should get involved here. I mean, it sucks that something bad happened and you were upset about it, but it doesn't mean you need to go on this little rampage. Like, this is seeming very childish to me, very like immature and just not befitting of an adult. Shaun King is also a father, from what I've heard. I think he has multiple kids, and he's out here acting like a big baby, saying we need to take away the cops. Like, what do you mean dismantle the police? Like, just remove all law enforcement? Like, obviously you're going to have to replace it with something. And I don't think their replacement is going to be anything very good. I think their replacement is really, this is what they're angling for, is they want liberals in charge of everything. So I think a lot of the times that they're mad at the police departments, which is funny because these cop departments and these issues always happen in Democrat-run cities. Democrats run much of Wisconsin. The governor is Democrat. So is the city and a lot of this area. Other things have happened in other Democratic areas like Minneapolis, Atlanta, New York and LA had lots of riots. Chicago has a lot of problems. So it's just very funny that they turn and blame the police departments who are within these Democratic areas, usually run by like a Democratic police chief who's sympathetic to the cause, usually a minority too, which it just really, really confuses the whole situation. Wow, congrats on your new job as judge, jury, executioner. Your godlike moral compass must be a heavy burden for you. Someone using the handle G Diddy replied sarcastically, while another called it ridiculous hate inciting rhetoric. Yeah, that's really the bottom line here. This is bad, bad, bad stuff. And I don't get why Shaun King is up on a high horse. Like, he's a liar. He's pretending to be black. He's done many bad things in his past. He has no credibility. He has nothing to do with the law and order or the justice system. He has no education or training. I don't know why he thinks he's just this. I don't know. He acts like he's just perfect and everything. And it's just like, yeah, like this person says, judge, jury, and executioner. That just is not his role. This is a law and order state. We're in a country with rules where people that get into trouble, you have to put them on trial. The jury has to vote on it, and then we give them a punishment from the judge. And that's not what Shaun King is in charge of. I don't know what made him think he's just entitled. I don't know why he has all this confidence in thinking that he can be in charge of everything, but that's where we are today. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also hit that like button if you enjoyed what you saw, subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell for notifications too. Until next time, have a great day. Hey guys, I just want to take a quick moment to tell you about our new second channel. I've recently updated and revamped the second channel, now called NoBS News. There I'm posting extra videos that I can't fit on this channel. I'm also doing some live streams, I'm playing video games, and doing lots of other cool, fun stuff for you guys. I want to give you guys more content on a separate channel, so you can go and subscribe there, hit that bell for notifications. I'm going to put a link below to NoBS News, or just search NoBS News on YouTube. It's our second channel. It's a lot of fun, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Thanks for your time. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next video.